Gives me great pleasure, though, this afternoon to present once again and our mayor of the city of Pasadena, Mayor Johnny Isbell. Mayor.
I told him short and sweet, and that was great, Richard. Didn't need to hear all that again. God, what a nice crowd. Thank you all for coming. It's the weather, right? What brought you out? Let me first introduce my family table here, if I might. Jeannie, unfortunately, about a month ago, I had the flu, and it took me 2 weeks to get over it. And then Lisa had a little bout of it, and now I guess we're just passing it around the household there. But let me introduce, if y'all want to stand up, you can, or you can just raise your hand. My son, JJ, and Lori. That's good. Want to raise their hand. My son, Kenny and Amanda. My son, Lisa and Johnny Carson. Lisa Carson? What'd I say? Son? She sure ain't my son. If it is, she made history. We've gained 2 members to our family this year since I talked last year. Johnny Carson and my daughter got married. And then Jeannie's sister and Susan and Ernie. So I added Johnny Carson and Ernie. You know, you got to have an offset, right? I'm just kidding. We welcome both of them here. You know, the good Lord has certainly blessed me with my family, and I realize it every day. I see the troubles some families have, and gosh, it's awful sad. I don't know that anything can bring you, as a parent, more misery sometimes than your kids, or more joy. And fortunately, mine have all been joy. What do you think of the stage? Huh? A lot of work went into this, and I want to personally thank John Matthews for the green plants. And then we had Richard and Sandra and her sister Wanda really helped with the setup. Kirby Cardenas, Randy and Deneen, his wife, Jennifer Peterson, Linda Morgan, and Robert Heminger. So give them a big hand for doing all this work. Well, welcome. Gosh, you may have noticed when you've been driving around Pasadena that the old finger store on Strawberry and Southmore has been torn down. When it was built in 1961, we had a commission form of government. Commission form of government. That's where the police chief, the public works director, everybody was elected separately. And now we have a mayor council form of government. That store at that time was a very visible symbol of change in our community, making our transition from a sleepy suburb to a community that could sport, at that time, a classy Houston chain store. Seeing it demolished got me thinking about how Pasadena has changed over the years. Except for Bass and Meineke. They are still here. And great business of the year, my goodness. When I was a youngster, I used to go in there. Not saying they're old or anything, but anyway. I was first elected to city council in 1969. How many of you wasn't born then? Raise your hand. Good Lord. Some say I'd been around since right after the Battle of San Jacinto, but that was not true. I didn't get elected then. It was the year that Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, a time when you could buy a new house for about $16,000. A gallon of gasoline cost about 35 cents. And yet for some of you old hippies out there, that was the summer of Woodstock, if you remember that. I've had the privilege of serving as mayor or on council for a long time. And I hope to continue to serve the city for 4 more years after this next election if I'm fortunate enough. It's my passion, and I take pride in it. It's a great job. Serving our city is actually what I love to do, and that's why I've been honored and allowed to serve for so many years. In that time, the things I've learned about change is, very often, you don't realize it's happening at the time. But even if we don't always notice it, our city has changed along with gas prices and clothing styles. In 1970, the general fund budget was about $7 million. $7 million. In contrast, this year, we're approaching $100 million. In 1970, our police department had 40 cars and was building a new police station on David Street, right there by City Hall, at a cost of a couple of $1 million, maybe. Today, we have 356 police vehicles, and it's housed in a facility that cost $30 million. $30 million. Back then, the Beltway wasn't here, and Fairmont did not reach LaPorte. Southmore was bustling, and Spencer was pretty much the end of Pasadena at that time. There was no Pasadena south of Genoa Red Bluff Road, and the rodeo was just relocating to their new fairgrounds. There was no convention center. Today, our city extends down to Clear Lake in the south and Galveston Bay on the east. Change is part of our lives, and it's also, for all of us, an opportunity to grow. As we always have and always will, to continue to change and grow within the city. We are progressive in implementing policies at City Hall to ensure that basic services are provided as effectively and efficiently as possible, keeping taxes low and prioritizing improvements to facilitate both private business and quality neighborhoods. 2012 was a great year that brought many changes to Pasadena. Our city has grown and our city has evolved in a number of ways, while at the same time keeping some of the same important priorities. One of our priorities is maintaining fiscal restraint. Fitch Rating Services said about Pasadena that our sound financial operations, conservative budgeting practices, and implementation of cost-saving measures is what made Pasadena it is today. As a result, we reduced spending by 8% and added $7.1 million to our reserves. Last year, our sales tax revenue exceeded budgeted estimates, totaling about 6% over the previous year. If we stay on course, reserves are expected to increase by an estimated $3.2 million, and we should be on track to meet or exceed our budget goals for 2013. Our response to budget challenges in 2010 was the right response to bring us to where we are today. Another priority is public safety. It is the very foundation of a healthy community. And here in Pasadena, we've had significant declines over the last decade. Business burglaries, home burglaries, and auto thefts are down. Overall, violent crime has also dropped over the same period, and that's good for both our neighborhoods and our businesses. I want to thank Chief Mike Thaler here, his staff, and all of our fine, dedicated officers for that record. We just added 15 new highly qualified police officers who absolutely represent the best of the best out of hundreds of applicants. And using available federal funds, the city has also completed a new radio tower antenna and will do an extensive upgrade to the police radio system this spring. Thanks to our fire department, under the able leadership of Chief Lanny Armstrong and Richard Lahorn, we as citizens pay lower insurance rates on both residential and commercial property. Dollar loss due to fires is much lower here than in other communities of our size. Thank you, Chief, and your staff, and all the volunteers of our Pasadena Volunteer Fire Department. Give him a big hand, too. Last year, our Fire Marshal's Office handled 169 investigations, including the prosecution of a serial arsonist who was responsible for dozens of incidents. Our Fire Marshal, David Brannon, was recognized by his colleagues and asked to serve on the boards of a state association and an international association. We are fortunate in Pasadena to have this caliber of fire investigation team, and thank you, David, and your able leadership and all of your staff. Give them a hand, too. Streets, bridges, drainage, and other infrastructure projects are certainly high priorities that greatly affect the day-to-day well-being of our residents. With 30 lane miles of paving done and nearly 41,000 lineal feet of sidewalk improvements and 102 lineal feet of new or improved water and sewer lines, our Public Works Department, under the leadership of Robin Green, is working hard to provide these essential services each day for our residents. Robin, you in the audience? I didn't see you earlier. But yeah, he's back there. Give him a hand. And thanks to our strong partnership with Harris County Commissioner Precinct 2, Jack Moorman. Jack, stand up before I say all these nice things about you. There he is. We have jointly made critical improvements to relieve congestion on some of the busiest streets in the city, including Pansy, Fairmont, and if you came that way from Fairmont, you saw the construction going on right now. Southmore and Genoa Red Bluff Road, which is actually most of us in Houston, but which will be used by the Pasadena residents probably more than Houston. And it will be completed in the next 3 months. The next phase of Fairmont is under construction that you've seen, from Mannerdale East to Red Bluff Road, with completion expected mid-May of this year. I commented to the commissioner yesterday that it looked like the work was going awfully fast out there, and that was great. Under the leadership of Kirby Cardenas, the City Parks and Recreation Department has also had some impressive achievements this year. One of our biggest parks, under the supervision of Steve Cody out there, I saw Steve earlier, has had improvements totaling $350,000, including the addition of water slides, an exercise pad, and all new playground equipment. Also, 3 ball fields were renovated and a new concession stand was built. We'll be renovating the Veterans Memorial in honor of our military also. We're also adding 3 soccer fields in north side of Pasadena. Also, our Parks and Recreation Department has generated $45,000 in sponsorships and donations over the past year, helping to provide additional programs and special events for our community without spending taxpayer dollars. There have been positive changes on our library over the past year. Under the direction of Tom Smiley as our new library director, our Fairmont branch is once again open full-time, using existing personnel. And the Central Library is home to a Wi-Fi zone that is accessible 24 hours a day. Keeping our citizens aware of city news and events in the city, we do through broadcast, print, social media, and web-based communications, which is important. The Communications Relations Department, under the able leadership of Richard Scott, has consistently won numerous statewide and national awards. Last year, the Pasadena Channel, led by station manager Eric Sweet, earned their very first Emmy nomination. You know, I've been talking about priorities. Now, if I can, let me share with you some highlights that have helped keep Pasadena on the map and recognized, and has truly built up some really true Pasadena pride in our community. Pasadena was proudly represented on the world stage with our own 7-time national boxing champion, Marlena Esparza, who became an Olympic medalist, and people around the world heard about Pasadena, Texas. Competing against thousands of students from around the world, the Pasadena High School Scholar Team placed 7th in the World Cup Scholarship Final after ranking first in the United States. Again, other cities around here have heard about Pasadena, Texas. Through a partnership between the city, our industries, our Pasadena industrial community provided over $3.5 million in materials and labor to residents who were financially unable to make their own home repairs without cost to the city or the taxpayers. Karen Holland worked very hard on this, and I want to thank her publicly also. But somebody else I want to thank at this time that has furnished a lot of material for these jobs for the less fortunate, and that is Joe and Milo Dow of Dow Fence Company. I want y'all to stand because here's where we've got most of the material. And we hope that'll continue, Joe. Pasadena is home to Ormond Bio Nature Center, which will celebrate its 40th anniversary next year. Each year, more than 15,000 visitors come to this remarkable urban wildlife preserve, which is larger than Central Park in New York. Princess Cruise Lines and Norwegian Cruise Lines have committed to sailings from our Bayport Cruise Terminal in Pasadena, which will generate approximately $50 million annually in economic activity, including an estimated $3.6 million in local purchases and 100 new jobs. Our animal shelter received an award from Harvard University for their innovative programs, and it was named a model for other cities. And a new SNAP clinic opened on the historic north side, funding with grant money and community donations to provide low-cost spray and neutering and animal wellness services to those pet owners who cannot afford those kind of services. Even the most casual observer has noticed the changing face of Pasadena over the last few years. Local media have run stories about the tremendous growth in new businesses in Pasadena. If you'll direct your attention right now to the screens on each side, you'll see a video that I'd like you to see also.
New at 6:30, good news on the economy can be rather sparse sometimes. The nation has been slowly working to get out of this recession, but this area is seeing a bright spot in the battle to better our economic standing. Eyewitness News reporter Deborah Wrigley live in Pasadena, where they're seeing a growth in new businesses. Deborah?
Dave, Pasadena no longer a small town, but a not-so-small city, and it's growing through another growth phase. The restaurant behind us that's just about to open, one more example. To the north along Highway 225, there's where Pasadena began, with the backdrop of refineries. To the south, the new part of the city. And it's growing. You may see dirt, the city sees.
Sales tax, employment, job security for engineers.
The Beltway has spurred development. On Crenshaw, a growing complex of hospitals and healthcare. On Fairmont, there is road widening, retail and restaurants. The Magnolia Cafe opened 4 years ago. It's been busy ever since.
Pasadena has a strong economy as far as disposable income. It's a very good place to have a business.
It's a place where people gather. A lot of them remember the city as it once was. Dolly Talmadge grew up in North Pasadena.
Small, it was just small. It hadn't extended out here. So this is all big city to me.
From strawberry patches to industrial town, now something more. An enclave of 7-figure homes that speak to that disposable income. To attract more people, there's talk about developing land by the convention center. Perhaps an amphitheater with water features. In the meantime, even churches are expanding. This one on Fairmont, more restaurant franchises opening along the Beltway. So much activity, the city says no more large acreage is available for subdivisions. The area is growing up and out, and Dolly Talmadge can see the future coming.
And all these new apartment complexes,
Right.
so it's going to be huge.
At least 2 restaurants expected to open in the next month or so. And if you think it's busy now, wait until the Panama Canal expansion is complete. The port will generate even more business around here. In Pasadena, Deborah Bickley, 13 Eyewitness News.
Isn't that great? Pasadena's changing, and everybody's noticing it. And even better, that's a trend that we expect to continue. Just let me say some things in our city that really indicates the phenomenal growth that we've had. Pasadena Hospital spent $7 million to renovate the old Kindred Hospital building and has added 150 new jobs to our community already, with many more projects to come. They have chosen Pasadena over the Texas Medical Center as their location for their headquarters. Kelsey Sebo, out here on the Beltway, is constructing a new clinic that will be more than twice the size of their present facility and will offer new medical specialties when the new space opens. MedCare Pediatric Group is bringing $800,000 investment to Pasadena. NA Industries, a Japanese firm, which is an international, obviously, that is a world leader in the field of polymers, built and recently opened a $100 million facility. During construction, the project created 500 jobs, and now that it's opened, it's added 80 new full-time jobs to that area. The medical resort at Bay Area is opening an $11 million skilled nursing facility. The first of its kind in the Houston-Pasadena region is bringing 200 new jobs to our area. Many restaurant chains, such as Olive Garden, Ichiban, Raising Cane, Cheddar's, is here. All have locations in Pasadena now, and many of the stores are among the top performers in the country. And I keep being asked about Cracker Barrel, Bill Bailey, and they haven't taken us off the table yet, but they haven't made their mind up. H-E-B's recent expansion makes the Pasadena store one of the largest in the Houston area. Nestle Water also has expanded their operations in Pasadena and has become a great partner in our community. They recently donated a year's supply of water to several Pasadena-based nonprofits. Another one we're excited about, Silver Eagle Distributors, the nation's largest Anheuser-Busch distributor, brought a 100-acre tract at Beltway and 225 and will build their largest distributorship right here in Pasadena. There's also several new companies and organizations who call Pasadena home, including Oxiteno Chemicals, which is a Brazilian company, TradeStar, Community Banks moved in here. Our ILA is building a new fine office, and the Houston Area Safety Council, which will train up to 4,000 people a day, will be out there. San Jacinto College celebrated its 50-year mark with a new state-of-the-art science building and plans to build a Coast Guard-approved maritime skills training center at the Port of Houston right down the street. Ellington Airport is a major asset and going to get a lot bigger. And aviation industries are expressing their interest. The only Texas Air National Guard office in the Houston area will be located there. Pasadena is drawing the attention of site selection teams from companies from worldwide, such as LG Corporation. I've asked the staff to see how we can facilitate positive changes in our historic north area of Pasadena. I'm working with Roy Meese. Roy, stand up. You've been doing a lot of hard work here lately. He is, I know you can't stand up. I understand. Roy was about, 10 or 15 years ahead of me in school? He is chairman of the Pasadena Second Century, which is our economic development corporation, not only on potentially new development in the southern part of the city, but also new ideas to regenerate activities in the northern part of Pasadena. In the coming years, we'll have to focus on redevelopment in historic Pasadena. Our challenge is how to make the properties in that corridor more economically viable and how to foster new construction or the reuse of existing buildings. This is really more than just helping private developers work with raw land. This is going to take creativity grounded in history. It will be important to remember where we have been as we go forward. We're going to need the help of the Chamber and many other groups and organizations as we move into the future. I invite you today, all of you, to join us. Let's continue to work together to make Pasadena a better place to live, a great place to do business, and a great place to raise our families today and for our kids tomorrow. God bless you and yours, and God bless our troops serving in harm's way and all of our military men and women serving today. God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.